The dining room glowed under the chandelier's warm light, crystal glasses catching the flicker of candles on the mahogany table. Plates of half-eaten filet mignon and roasted asparagus sat untouched, the dishwasher's hum a soft murmur in the background. It was a Saturday night at the Carter estate, a sprawling mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, where I'd built a life with my wife, Elise, over 12 years. At 38, I was Michael Reed, a financial consultant who'd turned her father's faltering investment firm into a powerhouse. But that night, trivial words sparked a fire. Elise, her diamond bracelet glinting, pointed at me like I was a stranger. "You ingrate," she screamed, her voice slicing through the chatter. "Go away and never come back." Her family, lounging in the adjacent living room, her mother Vivian, brothers Paul and Trevor, their spouses, fell silent. No one defended me, not even my son, Ethan, 10, who shrank in his chair. Vivian's lips curved into a cruel smile, as if she'd waited years for this. I looked at Elise, her father's fortune her armor, and saw the truth. To her, I was a tool, not a husband. I didn't shout or beg. I grabbed my jacket, her venom following me to the door. "You'll come crawling back begging. Without me, you're nothing." I paused, hand on the knob, the silence thick with my heartbeat. "We'll see who crawls back first," I said quietly and walked out into the November chill for days. My phone buzzed calls, texts, Elise's voice dripping with condescension. "Stop acting like a child. Come back. Your pride won't keep you warm." I ignored them, settling into a modest apartment across town, its plain walls a stark contrast to the mansion's opulence. For the first time in years, I slept without shouts echoing in my mind. Gossip swirled. Friends saw Elise at restaurants, toasting her freedom from the dead weight. Her family laughed, assuming I'd keep funding their lifestyle mortgage, credit cards, club memberships. They were wrong. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. Vivian's raspy voice trembled. "Why did you stop paying the mortgage?" I leaned back, picturing their palace teetering. "Because that house isn't yours," I said. "It never was. It's mine." Silence, then a stutter. "What are you saying?" I savored the moment. Years ago, Elise begged me to put the deed in my name. Her credit was ruined from shopping sprees. Every payment, tax, repair, I covered it. "The bank doesn't know your name. Why would I pay after you kicked me out?" Her voice cracked. "You can't do this." "I already did," I replied. "The bank was notified yesterday. 90 days and it's foreclosure." I hung up, feeling a weight lift, the first taste of freedom in years. The notice hit like a bomb. Elise opened her door to a police officer, her smile fading as she read the foreclosure papers. Calls flooded. Vivian, Paul, Trevor, then Elise herself. "You can't leave us like this," she pleaded. "You left me," I said, voice steady. "That night you screamed for me to go, I obeyed." She stammered about honor, family, reputation. "Tell them the truth," I cut in. "Without me, you can't afford your roof." I hung up, but it wasn't just the house. Her credit cards, leased Bentley, country club membership, all tied to my name, vanished one by one. Neighbors whispered, their envy turning to pity as the Carter facade crumbled. The real blow was the trust fund. Elise's father, Harold Carter, had built a fortune in real estate, but after his death, I'd managed the accounts, tying all transfers to my signature for tax efficiency. When Elise stormed into the bank to withdraw funds, I was there, silent. The manager adjusted his glasses. "Ma'am, the trust requires both spouses' signatures." Her face paled. "Impossible. He's not my husband." "Until the divorce is ratified," he said, "the terms hold." She turned to me, eyes wide with realization. She hadn't banished me. She'd banished herself. The news spread, Carter family bankrupt. Friends vanished. The club expelled her, and her own circle began questioning. He paid for everything. Why did they lie? I didn't raise my voice. My silence was my weapon, dismantling their world as they'd dismantled mine. The divorce trial came 6 months later. Elise appeared, draped in fading jewels, her lawyer smug. "The fortune is inherited. This man is a parasite." My lawyer, Rachel, smiled, placing a folder on the table. Transfers, deeds, emails, a video of Elise's laughter, her family's mockery, Ethan's trembling voice begging for help. The courtroom hushed. The verdict was swift. Full compensation for me, sole custody of Ethan, and criminal proceedings against the Carters for fraud. Walking out, Ethan's hand in mine, was the sweetest moment of my life. That afternoon, news channels blared. Wealthy Carter family falls. Elise's brothers faced fraud charges. Vivian collapsed on live TV, and Elise was ruined, her reputation scarred. Her calls turned desperate. Do it for Ethan. We can fix this. I didn't answer. Vivian showed up at my apartment, spitting. You destroyed us. I met her eyes. Your greed did. I closed the door. Ethan hugged me.
Dad, we won.
I smiled. No, son. We showed them dignity can't be bought. 3 months later, near the courthouse, journalists swarmed. Elise stood, disheveled in a worn coat, her eyes dull. Ethan's voice rang out. Dad, isn't it the one who said, go away and never come back? Cameras turned, her shame exposed. Yes, son, I said calmly, and we walked on, leaving her behind the woman who thought herself invincible, now a footnote in our victory. Growing up in Stamford, I was never enough for the Carters. Elise, dazzling even in high school, was Harold's pride, her charm a currency I couldn't match. I was the scholarship kid, working nights to afford college, while she spent her father's money. When we met at 24, her smile disarmed me, but her family saw me as a means to an end. Harold hired me to save his firm, and I'd doubling its value in 5 years. But gratitude? Never. Vivian called me useful. Paul and Trevor smirked, and Elise treated my efforts as her birthright. Marriage didn't change it. We moved into the Greenwich mansion, its marble floors and gilded mirrors a world I didn't recognize. I paid the mortgage, taxes, renovations, while Elise shopped and her family leached. Ethan's birth was my joy, but even he couldn't bridge the gap. Elise's demands GRE new cars, vacations, memberships all on my dime. I complied, thinking love meant sacrifice, ignoring the barbs. You're lucky to have me, she'd say, or Vivian's don't forget your place. The night of the fight wasn't the first. Arguments flared over my late nights, her spending, her family's entitlement. That Saturday, it was a comment about Ethan's school fee I'd suggested budgeting. Elise exploded, her family's silence deafening. Walking out, I felt their eyes, not with concern, but triumph. They thought I'd fold, as always. The apartment I rented was small, a 1-bedroom with creaky floors and a view of a brick wall. But it was no chandeliers, no expectations. I slept soundly, no shouts in the halls. Work kept me grounded. Clients trusted my steady hand. I hired a private investigator to document the Carters' financial moves, suspecting fraud. He found it Paul and Trevor siphoning trust funds, Elise forging my signature on loan applications. I saved every document, every email, building a case. When Vivian called about the mortgage, I was ready. The house, bought with my savings, was in my name alone. Her credit was shot when we married. I'd paid every bill, assuming it was for us, for Ethan. But that night, her words "go away, never come back" freed me. I notified the bank, stopped payments, canceled cards, and let the trust's terms lock their funds. Each move was calculated, not out of spite, but justice. Elise's downfall unfolded publicly. The foreclosure notice was just the start. Without my signatures, her credit cards declined. Her Bentley was repossessed, her club membership lapsed. Socialites who once flocked to her parties vanished. The trust, Harold's legacy, was untouchable without me. At the bank, her shock was palpable. She'd assumed her father's name was enough. It wasn't. I'd spent years ensuring every asset was secure, a precaution against their recklessness. The trial was my final stand. Rachel presented the evidence: years of payments, forged documents, a video from Ethan's nanny cam capturing Elise's mockery, and Ethan's pleas. The judge's ruling was a landslide. Assets to me, custody of Ethan, Fraud charges for the Carters. Outside, Ethan's hand in mine felt like a new beginning. The media frenzy followed. Elise's fall, a headline that echoed for weeks. Her brother's arrests, Vivian's collapse, her own public shame. It was their own making, not mine. Ethan and I moved to a new home, a modest house with a yard for him to play. He started therapy, healing from his mother's chaos. I rebuilt my firm, free from Carter influence, taking on clients who valued my work, not my wife's name. Elise's calls dwindled, her pleas ignored. Vivian's visit was the last. She left without a word after my reply. The courthouse moment, with Ethan's voice cutting through the crowd, was closure. Elise's trembling lips, the camera's flash, her faded coat. It was the end of her myth. Now, Ethan and I walked to school each morning, his chatter filling the silence. We're building a life, not a fortune. The Carters' world collapsed, but mine stands stronger. Dignity, not wealth, defines us. I don't need their tabble. I've built my own, and Ethan sits at its heart.